Time to preview the 2025 Minnesota Vikings season. First question, how dead inside am I? See, when you get to the end of any Vikings season, I am 100% dead inside after the last game. And usually as the off season goes on, I become more alive inside. Given that I'm married, though, I never achieve less than 80% death. So you don't like when I touch you? Yes. Inside, internal death. I'm always at least 80% dead inside. That is the peak. And so I guess the question is, how close am I to being only 80% dead inside as we lead into this upcoming Vikings season? Let's talk about how last year's Vikings season ended. Vikings won a lot of games. They played Green Bay in the second to last game of the year and just were crushing them. And then they just kind of quit. Green Bay came back and the Vikings squeaked out a 2-point win. Then in the last game of the season, the Vikings played the Detroit Lions with the division on the line and I believe home field advantage throughout the playoffs on the line. And Kevin O'Connell, I guess, forgot to come up with a game plan. And the Vikings offense didn't show up. The defense fought valiantly for about half, and then they went missing too. And then in the playoff game against the Rams, kind of nobody showed up. So that left me completely dead inside. And I would say that 100% death inside lingered longer than it normally does with me. Usually I come out of that within a couple days. I kind of start moving on. This was like months long. And there's a couple reasons why. This was the second time in 3 years when the Vikings won a ton of regular season games under Kevin O'Connell. And then in the playoffs, the first round of the playoffs, they just kind of didn't show up against a mediocre opponent. Okay, in 2022, it was the Giants, the Vikings at home. Just their defense just didn't show up. And it was, it's Ed Donatell's fault. It was Ed Donatell's fault all year. Well, here we were last year, 2024. Vikings win a lot of regular season games. They go into the first round of the playoffs. Again, the defense just kind of didn't show up. And the offense didn't show up at all either this time. And it just got me thinking that this Kevin O'Connell guy is not a big game coach. Okay, that whole positivity and that up and at 'em kind of vibe will work in the regular season. It'll get you to the playoffs maybe 2 out of 3 years, but you're never going to go to the next level because you saw in all those other playoff games last year, virtually every other team showed up. The other major disappointment in the playoffs was probably the Detroit Lions. Well, they showed up. Their quarterback had a couple turnovers. The Lions had a couple turnovers. They didn't lose because they didn't show up. They made mistakes. There's a difference. And so I just feel like Kevin O'Connell, he's not the guy. And that caused me to stay dead inside pretty long. I've kind of come to accept that. I can move on, enjoy the Vikings now, and just accept what they give us under Kevin O'Connell, knowing that shouldn't expect too much late in the season. Another reason I stayed dead inside is because we lost Val Kilmer, one of my idols, one of the all-time great actors of the 1980s and 1990s, the guy who of course was Iceman in Top Gun, Doc Holliday in Tombstone, Jim Morrison in The Doors. I don't think he ever stopped being Jim Morrison. He was, of course, Nick Rivers in Top Secret, maybe the funniest movie ever made.
I'm sorry, I really don't know any German.
That's all right. I know a little German. He's sitting over there.
That movie is the main reason I decided to marry a woman named Hillary.
Thank you.
Hillary.
Hillary? That's an unusual name.
It's a German name. It means she whose bosoms defy gravity.
So I'm struggling to get over Val Kilmer's death. Also, we lost George Wendt, Norm from Cheers.
What's shaking, Norm?
All 4 cheeks and a couple of chins, Coach.
The coolest guy. The guy everybody would want to hang out with. But I have started to come out of it. Like last month, my wife and I went to San Francisco for our anniversary.
Squeeze it.
My wife chose San Francisco because she wanted to go to a city where men and women rarely spend a night together. We did drive by Kezar Stadium in San Francisco in Golden Gate Park. It's a lot smaller now, but that's where the Vikings and 49ers played in the Jim Marshall wrong way run game. And we did also lose Jim Marshall recently, so that's another reason to stay dead inside. So that started to bring me out of my funk, this trip to San Francisco. I'm ready to dive into the Vikings again. And the best way to dive in is, hey, let's check out the Vikings draft that happened a couple months ago. So the Vikings, with the first round pick, selected offensive lineman Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. So it used to be you'd make a joke about, oh, well, he's going to have to take a pay cut coming from Ohio State. Nowadays, that's actually probably true. Is he the next Orlando Pace or the next Orlando Thomas? God rest his soul. What do they say about Donovan Jackson? Broad frame, 3-year starter with core power and leg drive. Ought to be a given for an offensive lineman. He leans against stunting/slanting fronts, and he can be tardy in opening his hips and activating his feet for recoveries. He's long but punches with wider hands and struggles to consistently maintain his edges when mirroring. Overall, Jackson has the measurables, power, and movement for any scheme as a starting guard. We will see, won't we? Offensive line, that's what they need. They need offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, secondary. They need a lot. Certainly need him to pan out and not get hurt every game. Like, what's his name? Darisaw. Third round, Vikings selected wide receiver Ty Felton. We need more wide receivers. We need less core strength on our team and more edge strength. Tall, slender wideout whose impressive 2024 production appears to be more a function of target volume than projectable talent. Well, there's a ringing endorsement. Felton is a linear route runner. Does that just mean he can't make cuts? Does that mean basically he can't run routes? Linear route runner who will struggle with tight press and physical man coverage inside the route. So they are just singing his praises. He lacks functional strength and rarely owns the catch space when contested. Why don't they just say he sucks? Because that's what it sounds like to me. Felton has backup potential. Oh my gosh. He might ascend to the level of a backup. Could compete for a role as a gunner. He could compete for special teams or to be like a fourth or fifth wideout. This is incredible. Great pick, Kwesi. Round 5. We only had 2 picks in the first 4 rounds. Well, that's great. He's ready to do it with the tools to do it, but is still learning how to do it. Relative lack of experience shows up with inconsistent lack of experience. Okay, I'm not even going to read more. Sounds like a project. 6th round linebacker Kobe King from Penn State. So if you're 6th round linebacker, if you're a linebacker from Penn State and you're not drafted in the 6th round, you must be terrible. Just looks like they had 1 pick or 2 picks in the first 4 rounds, and only the first pick has any chance. It seems like the 3rd round pick is like maybe a backup wider, maybe ascend to a backup. So looks like a pretty useless draft. So they're gonna have to rely on free agent signings. They made a few free agent signings, but the real thing, the real person they need to step up, and the real reason I can't get to that only 80% dead inside is because JJ McCarthy, it's all on him. In his defense, he's thrown 0 incompletions in the NFL in a regular season game because he's played 0 plays in an NFL regular season game. He played like 1 series in a preseason game last year and got hurt. And there's a lot of people just like he's the second coming of Tom Brady or the second coming of Fran Tarkenton or whatever. Based on what? Maybe he will be great. There is 0 evidence that will happen. But I don't know. I look at him. This is what he looks like. You think that guy's taking to the Super Bowl this year or next year or in 5 years? All right. First of all, maybe stay healthy for at least 1 preseason game. I'm a little skeptical, especially because Kevin O'Connell. Even if JJ McCarthy is successful this year, gets them to the playoffs, you know what Kevin O'Connell's going to do? Oh, I don't trust you anymore in the playoffs. We got to tighten up the playbook. We got to get all vanilla. And how good is JJ McCarthy going to look then? He's going to look like Sam Darnold looked in that playoff game. So I'm not down to 80% dead inside. In fact, just the course of making this video, I think I've gone 5% more dead inside. I think I'm about 93% dead inside. We'll see how the Europe Vikings do this year. Yeah, that's right. Another reason I'm more dead inside, the Vikings play 2 consecutive games in Europe. Why? What is this crap? Fine, just they don't have to ever play in Minnesota. Dublin and then London. Why? The National Football League. Screw Roger Goodell. Screw anyone who agreed to this. The Minnesota Vikings. Why don't they play in the United States or at least in this hemisphere? Close to 100% dead inside now. Anyway, let's go.